Bills Mafia. Get ready to meet the newest face in Buffalo's backfield, and trust us, his story is unlike anything you've heard this offseason. 2 season-ending injuries, a brand new position learned at the highest level of football, a Super Bowl ring, and now a fresh start in Orchard Park. This is the incredible journey of Ben VanSumeren, and by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why the Buffalo Bills wanted him in the building. Let's set the stage here, because VanSumeren's road to Buffalo has been anything but easy. He spent 3 seasons with the Philadelphia Eagles, originally coming in as a linebacker out of Michigan State before a position change flipped his career on its head. In 2024, disaster struck when he suffered a season-ending knee injury during practice, cutting his year short after just 11 games. But here's the twist. Despite that injury, the Eagles went on to win the Super Bowl that season, and VanSumeren earned himself a championship ring as part of that roster. Not a bad consolation prize. Philadelphia clearly still believed in him too, because that offseason they signed him to a 1-year extension worth just over $1 million and made a bold decision, officially converting him from linebacker to fullback, hoping to unlock a bigger role in their offense. And for a while, it looked like the gamble was going to pay off. VanSumeren spent the offseason grinding to learn a brand new offensive playbook, and he walked into that 2025 season primed for what he called a breakout year. Then, in the cruelest way possible, disaster struck again. On the opening kickoff of the Eagles' very first game of the season against the Dallas Cowboys, VanSumeren went down with a torn patella tendon. Just like that, his season was over before it even really started. 2 years, 2 season-ending leg injuries. That's the kind of misfortune that would break a lot of players. But not this guy. Philadelphia moved on from VanSumeren after the season, choosing not to bring him back as a restricted free agent. And that's when the Buffalo Bills came calling, signing him to fill the fullback vacancy left behind after Reggie Gilliam departed for the New England Patriots in free agency. For VanSumeren, this wasn't just a chance to keep playing football, it was a chance to reset and show the league exactly what he's capable of when he's healthy. So we sat down with him during his first training camp in Buffalo to find out how he's settling in. And honestly, his answers tell you everything you need to know about the kind of competitor Buffalo just added to the roster. The first question on everybody's mind was simple. After missing so much time with injury, how tough was it getting back into the swing of a real practice environment? VanSumeren's answer might surprise you. He said there really wasn't much of a curve at all. He trained hard the entire offseason and walked into the spring and training camp completely ready to go. No hesitation, no rust, just straight back to business. And when you consider the timeline here, that's honestly remarkable. VanSumeren revealed he didn't get full medical clearance to train the way he wanted until the very first week of May. That means he had roughly 3 to 4 weeks of confidence in his body before jumping right back into a full football schedule. For most players, that would feel like an incredibly short runway. For VanSumeren, it was just another hurdle to clear. Now here's where the story gets really interesting, because VanSumeren isn't just recovering from injury. He's also mastering an entirely new position at the highest level of professional football. Going from linebacker to fullback isn't a small tweak, it's a complete identity shift on the field. Players make position switches all the time in high school and college, but doing it in the NFL against the fastest and most physical competition on the planet is a completely different challenge. So how did he pull it off? According to VanSumeren, the transition wasn't as foreign as you might think. He actually grew up playing offense his entire life. He was a wide receiver in high school and started out as a running back in college before eventually shifting to linebacker. So when the Eagles asked him to move back to offense, he already had that offensive instinct buried somewhere in his football brain. He explained that learning the terminology on the offensive side of the ball was probably the toughest adjustment, but conceptually, the actual plays themselves came pretty naturally to him. And here's the part that really stands out. He said his years playing linebacker actually make him a better blocker now. Understanding angles, understanding leverage. Understanding exactly how a defender is taught to attack a gap, all of that knowledge translates directly into knowing how to counter it as a blocker. In other words, the very position that once had him delivering hits is now the exact toolkit helping him deliver them from the other side of the ball. Buffalo has developed a reputation across the league as one of the tightest-knit locker rooms in the NFL, and VanSumeren's says that reputation is very real. He told us he'd actually heard about Buffalo's culture long before he ever signed, going all the way back to his time with the Eagles. Around the league, it was simply known that this was a good locker room and a good place to be. And when he actually walked through the doors, that feeling was immediate. He already had a built-in connection too, having trained with fellow Bills player Dorian before the draft, and from there the coaching staff made sure he felt like part of the family right away. Of course, feeling welcome is one thing. Learning an entirely new playbook is another challenge altogether. Buffalo's offensive system has a reputation around the league for being voluminous, and VanSumeren admitted it's taken real work to get comfortable. He explained that the Bills had one of the longest off-season breaks he's experienced in his career, giving him more than a month off, and he used a big chunk of that time to bury himself in the material. Learning terminology and absorbing the playbook before camp even started. And it's clearly paying off, because in his own words, once he knows where he's supposed to be on a given play, he feels dangerous out there. We also got a fascinating look into exactly how VanSumeren studies the game. Unlike a lot of players who lean heavily on film study or written notes, VanSumeren describes himself as someone who learns best through repetition and sound. He said that while looking at drawings or diagrams in the playbook helps initially, the real learning happens once it becomes verbal, hearing the play called out loud in the huddle over and over until it clicks. He needs to hear a play multiple times before he can go out and actually execute it with confidence on the field. Interestingly, he doesn't rely much on drawing plays out himself. He said simply seeing it is enough for him, crediting a strong memory for retaining formations and concepts, but ultimately, hearing the call is what makes it stick. On the coaching side, VanSumeren has been working closely with Buffalo's run game coordinator, a coach with a long track record of developing fullbacks, while also getting some crossover time with the tight ends coach given the overlap in run-blocking responsibilities between the two position groups. That collaborative coaching approach seems to be helping him round out his game quickly. So what exactly does Ben VanSumeren bring to the field for Buffalo? In his own words, he believes he has a genuinely unique skill set for the fullback position. Point of attack blocking is a given, and yes, putting big hits on defenders is simply part of the job description at fullback. But VanSumeren says there's more to his game than just physicality. He runs precise routes, he's got reliable hands, and he believes he's more than capable as a ball carrier if that opportunity ever comes his way. That's the kind of versatility that could make him a real weapon in Buffalo's offense beyond just clearing running lanes for the backfield. As for the mental side of finally getting back onto a real football field after such a long and painful layoff, VanSumeren sounds about as calm and locked in as you could hope for. With the Bills gearing up to face the Carolina Panthers this weekend, he insists he's not an overly emotional guy by nature. He brings energy and enthusiasm every single day, but he says the atmosphere of a real game, or even a scrimmage inside a packed stadium, doesn't really change his mental approach. He's got the same focus and intensity dialed in every day, which he believes is exactly what allows him to stay sharp and execute when it matters most. It's honestly hard not to root for a story like this one. 2 devastating leg injuries in back-to-back seasons would be enough to derail plenty of careers. Instead, Ben VanSumeren used that time to reinvent himself, master a brand new position at the NFL level, and now he's punching in every day for Buffalo with a Super Bowl ring on his resume and a serious chip on his shoulder. Bills Mafia has seen plenty of underdog stories over the years, and this feels like it could be the next one worth following closely all season long. So keep an eye on him this Saturday when the Bills take the field against the Carolina Panthers. It might be the first time a lot of fans get a real look at what Ben VanSumeren can do in the backfield, and if his confidence is any indication, he's more than ready for the moment. Now we want to hear from you, Bills Mafia. What do you think of Buffalo's newest fullback? Are you excited to see what Ben VanSumeren brings to this offense after everything he's been through? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We genuinely read every single one. And if you want more exclusive interviews and behind-the-scenes training camp coverage straight from Buffalo, make sure you smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. We'll be back very soon with more Bills news. Until then, Bills Mafia, let's go Buffalo.